Well, hello, everybody. This is Universal Truth of Mankind. I am Dave, your host. This is Kabbalah 101. And I'm sure you've seen these two Sefirotic trees before. I've touched on them in the image of. Go there, watch those videos. You get a better understanding what they represent. You will also find that I spoke about them for Jacob's ladder. And you also should note that I spoke about it in Meditation 101 playlists as well. Below are all the playlists. You can go there where I talk about Da'at, D-A-A-T, knowledge. You'll see these before. But I was asked a question recently. How do we know that, particularly two trees, because these are used in Jacob's ladder, how do we know there are 10 sephirots for each of them? How do we know that these two structures are actually legit? Ah, darn good question. I'm glad it was asked. So we go to Genesis, the beginning of Genesis, to the creation story, and we will see evidence of these two trees being thrown at us, but it's sort of hidden, especially in the English, but not necessarily in the Hebrew. So here's the deal. We know that Ein Sof created creation. We know that. Ein Sof, the very word word name, whatever you want to call it, Ein Sof, the two attributes, is nothing and everything. Ein meaning nothing, Sof meaning everything. So outside of creation, there is everything and nothing. Ein Sof. So Ein Sof said, okay, I want to make creation. But there's certain things we got to make sure take place. Number one, we want man to have freedom of choice, which means I have to limit my presence. I also have to make sure that I create a structure. In other words, something out of nothing. And that means the only way I can do this is because I'm all powerful. I can only limit my attributes. We'll call them attributes for now. Names, attributes. I have to keep it limited. Please watch this whole thing to the end and it'll make more sense. So, just like you and I are created with 10 digits, the creator only permitted 10 of its digits. Even the Egyptians were calling the power of God. Remember, there were 10 plagues. One of the plagues they called the finger of God. All right. 10 plagues. The 10 parts of God that are represented within creation were used for those plagues. And even they called it the finger of God. So you got 10 fingers here. So each finger, each circle here is an attribute of the creator. So the creator limited the number of attributes of itself into creation so that we would, like I said, have freedom of choice and also have a structure. All right, so now you get the idea of these. So how do we come up with these images? Well, it's very interesting that in the creation story in Genesis, the beginning of Genesis, there are a total of 10 utterances, meaning that each attribute spoke or utterance, or each utterance took place. And each one of these circles represents that utterance, that attribute of the creator that did that utterance, that speaking. We even have this within what's called the Ten Commandments. Same idea. So we have these 10 attributes. So we say, okay, now we got the 10 circles. Great. Well, how do we create a structure out of those 10? If you take every single one of those utterances in the very beginning, those and you add all those sayings together, not one Hebrew letter was left out. That means all 22 letters were used, or characters. All 22 characters were used. So use the characters as a connection point. You will see all those lines have a Hebrew character in them. So you take those 22 characters, those 10 sephirots, attributes, actually it means countings, the 10 countings, each one is called a path. So you have a total of 32 paths. 10 plus 22 equals 32. And these are the two structures you come up with. And like I said, in Jacob's ladder, both these structures are present. And that's the structure that was created. And that's how we know this is the something from the nothing. I hope this inspires you. I hope you look at this and say, wow, there's a lot more here than I thought. You don't hear about these teachings, do you? This is what Kabbalists tell us. Enjoy, everybody. I'm sorry it's a little longer than normal, but this is quite an intensive subject, and I hope it's beneficial to all of you. Shalom, shalom, everybody.